Today's topic is money, and specifically what I would charge as a new freelancer. And this video is going to be for anyone that's considering switching from maybe a full-time position to being your own freelancer. So if you've kind of been working in the industry for a little bit, have a little bit of work experience, I think that's a very good position to be in to jump into freelancing. Personally, I sort of did this weird, transitioning from like a hobby to like going right into freelancing. I was able to do that because I was pretty young and I was in college, and I was able to just slowly pick up the gigs, and I didn't need to immediately make a lot of money from freelancing. But I know if I were in a different position, maybe I was already out of school and I was working and I had bills to pay, if I had a family, if I had other responsibilities, I think that there's definitely more to consider before, quitting your job and jumping into freelancing. So, today we're going to be talking about that. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Alex. I am a freelance videographer, and I've been doing this for about 10 years. And it wasn't really until, I would say, in the last 5 years that this became really financially viable. But even then, I would say I've really struggled these last 10 years financially because no one really taught me the business side. No one taught me the how much I need to make, how much taxes I need to make, how much taxes I need to pay. And there was just so much I just fumbled my way through it. I really did not have much guidance, and I'm so glad that new freelancers and people who are younger than me, or even people who are maybe going to this freelance, whether that's videography or photography or any multitude of careers that can be done as a freelance position. I think there's a lot of resources online now. So I want to share sort of my experience and my thoughts on this. And I just want to make it clear that this is not financial advice. For financial advice, definitely go talk to someone credentialed and qualified for it. So that could be a CPA, that could be even an EA, someone that helps you prepare for your taxes, someone who, it can be a business consultant, and being a qualified position to give you financial advice. I am just making a YouTube video. I'm just sharing my experience. So take what you will. I'm sure there's bits and pieces of my logic here that might be insightful to you. So, okay, let's get right into it. So just to kind of share a little bit of my background story, I started freelance videography in, I say 2014. That was around the year that I decided, I was a sophomore in college, and I decided that this is what I wanted to do. Previous to that, I had maybe a couple gigs that made me realize wow, I could actually get paid to do it. I was hired to film a couple weddings the previous year, and it was kind of mind-blowing. I've only made fun YouTube videos and short films with my friends, and someone trusted me to film their wedding. This was 2014, so there was no risk to them because I did my first one for free and I got paid a tip, and then the second person got to see what I did for my first video and hired me for their wedding. So 2014 was when I realized, oh my gosh, I could actually make money doing this. And this is something that I've been wanting to do. So I slowly started to pick up more and more jobs, made myself available to be a freelancer. At the time, I think I was charging, I don't even remember my rate. It was all over the place. See, I didn't even have an understanding of what I needed to charge. Which by the end of this video, I hope that I can help you understand how to maybe get to the number that you need to be at. But generally, even after college, I was working jobs I worked at a nonprofit, and then I worked at a church, and then I worked at a coffee shop. So in all those positions, I was making between $15 to $20 an hour, which really isn't much, but that was my day job. I was working those jobs 40 hours a week, and then afterwards, I had a side gig. I used to tutor math, so I used to teach SAT, ACT. I used to teach all the AP maths. Because that was a subject I excelled at. I did really well in school, so I taught that, and I was making about $50 an hour as a 1099. So between working 40 hours a week at $15, and then working another 2 to 4 hours after that at $50 an hour, and then I was just squeezing in any sort of weddings, events, any sort of videos that I could squeeze in on the weekends and at nights, and I would make time for it if I had to do a daytime shoot. But for the majority of my career, I would say I did not make a lot of money. It wasn't until very recently, I would say in the last few years, that this became much more viable financially. But this whole time, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And I remember being a college student making, like when I started making about like $35 to $50 an hour doing videos, I thought I was doing fantastic. I thought I was doing great. Because, if you're able to work $50 an hour and you work that 40 hours a week and 52 weeks a year, theoretically you should make 100K, right? But I slowly learned that is not the case, and there's a lot of variables that you need to account for, that I needed to account for, and so what was happening was I thought I was making all this money, but every time at the end of the year, the new year, I would be filing my taxes, and I would always wonder, like, why do I not have enough to like cover my taxes? Why am I always struggling? Why am I always like finding myself like having to put things on credit cards and take on debt to like cover my expenses? I'm making $50 an hour. Like I should be able to, even at that time, when I was just single, like I should be able to like pay for my portion of rent and utilities, and like I should be doing okay, because I was working. I think where it really where freelancing became a big drain for me was feeling like I was working all of these hours, and I was just constantly broke. I was just not making enough, and it just felt weird because I was thinking like, I'm charging this much and I'm working this many hours, and I should be feeling like I'm making a decent living. But for the first many years of my freelancing journey, I really struggled, and I really feel like I didn't make much. So I'm making this video for that younger version of me, because I wish I had some sort of guide or something to help me figure it out. So again, this is not financial advice. This is just, I think, what I wish I knew when I began my journey at 19, and I think it would have saved a lot of headache for Alex in his 20s. Okay, so now that you kind of know where I'm coming from, I'm gonna just kind of go through the math of if I was, maybe even 5 years ago, this is, I think, what I would be advising to my 25-year-old self. If you were to make $30 an hour, work 40 hours a week, and work 52 weeks a year, right? So at a job that, either pays you based on those numbers into a salary or even just like an hourly position, you're gonna make $62,400 a year. We're gonna use that number sort of as our benchmark, because I think there are a lot of jobs out right now that, if you can offer a lot of the skills that you would be offering as a freelancer, and you're very competent at your job, I do believe that $30 an hour is attainable. I think if you apply to enough jobs, if you get enough, and because it only takes one job, right? Like of all the interviews and all the things, if you can land a job at $30 an hour, I think in today's age, 2025, in the area like Southern California, that's definitely what I would suggest. You don't go lower than 30 an hour. for anyone with maybe, even 1 to 2 years of experience. So yeah, we're going to use our baseline at $62,400 a year. So on one side, you have that option. Maybe you're working a job making that much. On the flip side, you're starting to get opportunities and you're thinking about going freelance and maybe go self-employed. So here's what you need to consider. One is you're going to have to pay more taxes. In California, your self-employment, the Medicare and Social Security tax is 15.3%, and half of that is split between when you're working a normal W-2 job, half of that is split between you and your employer. So, if we divide 15.3 in half, 7.65%, right? So we're gonna so when you go freelance, now that half of that portion is all on you because you are now the employee and the employer, right? For your self-employment income, you're gonna have to pay the full 15% rather than the 7%. Health insurance. If you're on a full-time job and they cover your benefits, it's going to include health insurance, but once you come off of that, you're going to have to start paying for your own health insurance, which we're going to just go with like the cheapest just tends to be like, I think $300 a month. If you're young and healthy, $300 a month is probably good enough to get by on. So we'll use that. So that comes out to be $3,600 a year. Now, this is going to be where everyone kind of, you have to figure out your own numbers for all of this, right? But equipment, software, and like subscription. So all the stuff you need to actually run your business. I just put a flat $500 a month. So $500 a month is going to be enough for you to be able to start, get your editing programs, any sort of like if you need like QuickBooks or any like invoicing software, or there's a lot of free stuff, definitely. But definitely, like, I think just like, just put a budget. We're just gonna put $500 a month, because even for my job, I have to pay for creative assets. I have to pay for music licensing. I have to pay for just a decent amount of stuff, actually. So it quickly adds up. So we're gonna, and then, if you're buying your own equipment, whether that's computers, cameras, lenses, and that, at $500 a month, that comes out to $6,000 a year. So between the health insurance at $3,600 a year and the equipment at $6,000 a year, we're gonna set aside, in our brain, we're gonna set aside $9,600 a year. That is, what your employer would have been paying, but now you have to pay it yourself. Okay, so also keep in mind if you go as self-employed, it's not like you're gonna be working, you're gonna get paid for 100% of the 40 hours a week that you're working. There's oftentimes gonna be downtime. So, we're just gonna go ahead and assume a 25% downtime. So, the easiest way to calculate this is to just take the total number of weeks in a year that you would be working, which is 52 weeks, and you just multiply that by 75%, which is like the percentage of the time you're working. So we're gonna just calculate for 39 weeks of working time. And we're gonna say, the other 25% of the year, we just don't have work. It's downtime. Then the next thing you have to consider is that when you go freelance, you have billable hours and non-billable hours. So you don't really, like, there's gonna be a lot of tasks like back office management. You're gonna be, having to do the sales calls, finding your customers, and just a lot of stuff like figuring things out for your business. But no one is paying you to be the manager of your business, right? So at least, okay, so I don't like how I say that, but we're going to move on. But we're going to assume a 25 hours a week of billable hours. So let's say you work 40 hours a week. 25 of those hours will actually be billable. 15 hours is going to be pretty much like just busy work, admin stuff, and things that you're not going to be able to, like, say, charge your clients for it, because it's a part of, that's a part of you doing your business, right? So based on that, 39 weeks that we have to work at 25 billable hours a week comes out to be, for the entire year, your total billable hours is 975 hours. So we get that by doing 39 times 25. Okay, so now let's go back to that number that we came up with, which is this is kind of where we put it all together. 62,400, which is kind of like what we make at a $30 an hour job. We're gonna add the expenses that we have to now cover on our own, which is 9,600. So now we're looking at $72,000 a year. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and divide that by the math comes out to be this. So 72,000 divided by, in parentheses, 1 minus your self-employment tax that you're gonna have to pay now. So that's 7.65%. So you're gonna divide 72,000 by 0.9235. And that comes out to be $78,000 a year. So just going from a job to a freelancing position for yourself, you're going, up to 78,000. You're going to be needing to make $78,000 a year, and then remember that number that we just calculated, the 975 hours. So what we're gonna have to do is now divide. We need to make $78,000 a year, but we only have 975 billable hours. And if you do 78,000 divided by 975, that comes out to $80 an hour. If none of that math meant anything, the only two numbers that matter here now is this. What you were making at a job, $30 an hour, you now have to be charging $80 an hour as a freelancer to find something equivalent. This is a simple thing that I did not understand in my first 5 years of freelancing. And this is what led to me taking jobs as a freelancer that was $35 an hour, and lots of jobs at $50 an hour. I was making on so many videos, shooting, editing, I was charging $50 an hour, and I was working 40 hours a week. I was probably working closer to 60 hours a week, to be honest. And definitely sometimes I was working 80 hours a week. And I know in the past that I wore it as a badge of honor, but this is where 25-year-old Alex had his had his quarter life crisis, feeling like I'm making, $50 an hour. I'm working 60 to 80 hours a week. Why am I broke? And I think I feel for my younger self, because no one should have to work that many hours and feel like they're barely scraping by. Maybe for 2025, that's something to really think about. For me now, 80, 78, my minimum for any work now is 80 an hour. I don't work for any less than 80 an hour, with the exception of I do take on jobs still to even in this, even 10 years into it, I still take on gigs and jobs that I know are more relational and relationship building, and they're potential projects that can, be very great on the other side, if it works out. So I try to balance out projects. The more projects I have that are at a much higher rate, so it might be 150 an hour or 300 an hour. If I can make that hourly rate on a very particular project, that gives me an idea that of how much work I can take on at a much lower hourly rate, because one, I'm just passionate about it and I want to see that project come to life, or I see the value in investing into my time and expertise into a project that may be really, really successful and lead to much more gain on the other side. I hope that this is a topic that is an ongoing topic that I can share more about throughout the year. On my YouTube channel, I just launched Video Production 1A. I'm kind of structuring it as a 6-week course, and that's going to be really for beginners who just want to learn how to shoot on a camera, how to show up on camera, and talk and tell stories. But alongside that, I want to make sure that anyone who subscribes and anyone who lands on my channel sees that I'm still publishing content around video production business. So stay tuned for more. Even if like the VP1A isn't necessarily for you, I will continue to make more videos like this. And at the end of the day, no one's paying me to do this. I just feel that this is my way of giving back to the community, and I'm probably being maybe a little, maybe I'm exposing myself a little bit too much, and sharing the numbers, very specific numbers, is to the internet, to people who a lot of people I don't know, but I don't know. That's what I think I love about YouTube, and what I love about our niche and our industry is, as more people are transparent and talk about this very openly, I think it can really help, because I don't know. I just feel for 19-year-old Alex, 21-year-old Alex, 23, 25-year-old Alex that just worked really hard. And I still do, but I wish that I had, I was never good with money. I was never savvy with it. I was never taught business, I just, and most of what I understand and know now is through failure. It's through hard work and feeling like I just was messing things up and not doing great, and through actual real hardship. And I think if I knew what I know now, if I was taught that, or if I had that guidance from an earlier age, I think I would be much further along in my business than I am now. I'm just getting to a point where my business and my own freelancing career is financially very viable, and I'm very, very grateful for that, especially in a time when the industry as a whole is hurting, and the future looks very bleak for a lot of people in my industry. So I take it with a lot of gratitude that I'm in the position I am today, but with also the fact that I don't think that we all have to just go through hard stuff and just suffer. I think we can all benefit from learning from each other, from sharing, from creating, from inspiring one another. So, if you're all about that, welcome. And that's what I'm hoping to do on this channel. And so, again, this is where I sign off here. Please feel free to connect with me on Instagram. It's instagram.com/itsalexo, ITSALEXOH. And I will see you on the next video. Take care.